What's up, everybody? It's your boy Sterling from ENT, and welcome back to ENT Basketball. Now, I told you guys that we were about to be getting super active on this ENT Basketball channel. So today, I got my most surprising things of the NBA season so far. So we're about a quarter of the way through this NBA season so far. We've had a lot of basketball, around 20 games each team has played so far. We've had some crazy things going on. So this is my most surprising things of the 2021-2022 NBA season so far. But before we get into it, go down below, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Go subscribe to ENT Fantasy Football, ENT Basketball, all that good stuff. And let's get right into it. The first thing I wanted to get into talking about today was the Washington Wizards. Now, the Washington Wizards have been super surprising this year, as they've come out the gates pretty well. As of right now, they're 14-9, and they're sitting at 4th place in the Eastern Conference. So if the playoffs were to start today, the Wizards would have home court advantage in the first round, which is crazy to say. Now, over the last couple seasons, the Wizards have been a team where they would put up a ridiculous amount of points almost every game. Ridiculous amount of points. Bradley Beal was averaging over 30 points a game. They had a bunch of offensive options, and they would put up a ton of points, but their defense was terrible. Their defense was horrendous. Now, 2 years ago, the Wizards were tied for the worst defense in the NBA. And then last year, they were a little bit better, but they were still a bottom 10 defense. But this year, they've come out the gates, and as of right now, they're the 12th best defense in the NBA, which honestly is all that they need, because with their offense that they've had the last few years, all they needed was an average defense, and they would be solid because of just the offensive points that they would put up a game. With Bradley Beal going crazy every night, leading the NBA in scoring, they would put up a ton of points and they would still lose. They would get into these shootouts and they would still lose games because their defense was just that bad. But this season, they have a top 12 defense. They're the 12th best defense in the NBA as of right now. And that's helped them a lot. And they're doing it. Obviously, we know they made the Russell Westbrook trade, got Kuzma, Montrezl Harrell, KCP, and those guys have helped a lot. They've this season, Bradley Beal is having a down year a little bit according to the numbers. Last year he was averaging above 30. This year he's averaging around 22 a game. He's been shooting the ball a little bit less, but those other guys have stepped up. Montrezl Harrell has stepped up to his sixth man of the year form again. He's been playing very well off the bench. Spencer Dinwiddie's been pretty solid in his first season back since his injury. KCP has been shooting the ball really well. So they've had a lot of contributors and a lot of helpers, and they don't even have Rui Hachimura right now. Rui Hachimura has not played a single game this season. I can't wait for him to get back on the floor. I'm very excited for him. But the Wizards, they've come out the gate really nice this season, and I think, at this early portion of the season, it's kind of like there's a lot of question marks on if things are quote-unquote real. Because obviously it's a smaller sample size, but I think the Wizards, I think this is sustainable for the rest of the season. I don't know if they're going to stay at 4th in the Eastern Conference. I think they could be a 6th seed at the end of the year. I think a 6th seed is realistic for them, and I think that's probably my prediction for the Wizards. So they've come out, they're a big surprise so far. So yeah. So the next thing I wanted to talk about on my most surprising things of this NBA season is Miles Bridges of the Charlotte Hornets. Now, last season, Miles Bridges and LaMelo Ball had that connection. I talked about this in my last video, but Miles Bridges and LaMelo Ball just had that connection where LaMelo will just lob it up, Bridges will just go up, slam it. He can jump out the gym. Miles Bridges is just so athletic. But moving on to his actual play this season, he's improved a lot. What I was trying to say with that last statement was that Miles Bridges sort of before was just this lob threat who would get to the basket, attack the hoop, and just go downhill. But this season, he's expanded his game. He's shooting a lot more mid-range shots, and he's taking advantage of the gravity that LaMelo Ball and Gordon Hayward have, because defenses will zero in on LaMelo, they'll zero in on Gordon Hayward, and that leaves lots of open lanes, lots of open shots for Miles Bridges, and he's been taking advantage of that. He's basically tied for the leading scorer on the team right now. Right now, LaMelo is averaging 20 points exactly, and Miles Bridges is averaging 19.9 points exactly. So they're 0.1 points off. Earlier this season, Miles Bridges has had some crazy games. He's had 30-point games. He was averaging 25, 26 at one point this season. It's dropped down a little bit, But I think it's sustainable around this 19, 20-point range with how he's been playing. He's been super efficient. His three ball actually hasn't been falling as of recently, but that's like him being this successful without shooting the three ball really well is very encouraging because it's showing that he doesn't need the three. And if he does add a three, that's just another level to his game that will make it super, super, super hard for people to guard Miles Bridges, especially when LaMelo Ball and Gordon Hayward are there. Terry Rozier has not been very healthy this season, so he's been missing games. But when he comes back too, man, oh man. But Miles Bridges, a lot of the times, this is the thing I wanted to come on here and say. A lot of the times, with players who make a big leap, you see flashes of potential here and there in their games, right? For example, you'll see a player with passing ability, and you'll see flashes of him making great passes, making great reads on the defense, tough passes through tight windows. With Miles Bridges, this expansion of his offensive game is not really something that we saw coming. With a lot of guys, like, for example, Julius Randle won Most Improved last year. We saw he could do what he was doing before. He just needed to expand a little bit on it. We saw flashes of Julius Randle being a beast. And last year he came out and expanded on it and won Most Improved. Miles Bridges, we didn't really see the flashes until this year. That's why it's so surprising to me, because we didn't really see this coming. A lot of people were talking about like Michael Porter Jr., John Morant as their Most Improved, guys like that. Colin Sexton maybe in there, Darius Garland, guys like that. People were talking about for their Most Improved. Nobody was mentioning Miles Bridges, and Miles Bridges is most likely the most improved player as of this point. I personally like DeJounte Murray just a little bit better, but a lot of people, I'm part of the minority in that, having DeJounte Murray as my most improved. A lot of people are on the Miles Bridges train right now, which I don't blame him. I don't blame you if you have Miles Bridges as your most improved player. He's been a beast so far this season, and he's my next surprising thing on this list. The next thing on my list for the most surprising things this season is the Golden State Warriors as a team. Now, last season, the Warriors finished as the 8th seed, and due to the play-in tournament, they didn't make the playoffs. They finished as an 8th seed and missed out on the playoffs, which is a shame. But this season, the Warriors have been so great. Number 1 defense in basketball, number 1 team in basketball. They've just been so phenomenal. Stephen Curry is the leader for the MVP. To me, as of right now, I can't really see you having anybody else as the MVP leader right now. Draymond Green's in Defensive Player of the Year conversations, and their role players have been stepping up. Andrew Wiggins, he's not really a role player. He's kind of above role player tier, but they've been getting the most meaningful minutes of Andrew Wiggins' career so far. Andrew Wiggins has never really played meaningful basketball, though Timberwolves made the playoffs that one year with Jimmy Butler. But other than that, he was one of those guys that people would claim was empty stats. But this season, Andrew Wiggins has been very impactful for the Warriors, and their role players have been playing great minutes. Juan Toscano Anderson's been really good. Jordan Poole is in Most Improved Player conversations. Damian Lee's been solid. Gary Payton II has been very good for what they have in him. And so the Warriors, man, they've been surprising this season. From going on to 8th seed last year, the year before they were terrible, bottom of the league. And this season, be number 1. I believe they're 19-3 right now, I want to say. Number 1 in the Western Conference. And they've just been so good, playing super, super pleasant to watch basketball. I love watching the Warriors play basketball because it's just so smooth. Watching Steph, watching Draymond, the way they set screens and move around and all that stuff, it's just so fun to watch. So the Warriors have been super surprising this season because a lot of people saw them as making a jump. Maybe they jump up to 4th seed, 5th seed, 6th seed, around that range. But being the number 1 seed, and man, they're my surprise of the year. For the next portion, for the last portion of this video, I kind of just wanted to show some love to a bunch of players who have been surprising this season, or a bunch of things that have been surprising for this season, sort of like a rapid fire round, where I'm just going through a bunch of stuff that was super surprising this year. First thing is the Chicago Bulls defense. Now, when this new Bulls team was assembled with Zach LaVine, Nikola Vucevic, DeMar DeRozan, those are 3 players who you know are going to put up points on a nightly basis. So the question mark was the defense, but guys like Alex Caruso, Lonzo Ball, guys like that on this Bulls team have really held down the defense and helped out a lot. So the Bulls have a really good defense so far this season. That's really surprising. Guys like Luke Kennard of the LA Clippers have been phenomenal this season. The defense of Karl Anthony Towns has taken a big step up. And we have some rookies who have been super surprising. Scotty Barnes, nobody really knew or expected him to come out the gates of his rookie season and be this good so far, especially on the offensive end. So that's really surprising. Evan Mobley, same with him. There's been a lot of surprises in this NBA season so far. And so that's going to be it for today, guys. This was my most surprising things of the NBA season so far for 2021 to 2022. Go down below, like, subscribe to ENT Fantasy Football, subscribe to this channel, ENT Basketball, hit the bell icon for the notifications, go down below, comment, do all that good stuff. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching today's video, but I'm out.